So if you're writing, keep writing. But who's willing to talk about what you found?
I need more sleep.
So the whole time I felt like I was just trying to stay focused, and then I kept getting these flashes of images, but I couldn't. At the very beginning, there was something that resembled my experience. Somebody came in here once and did I guess she did the same type of process in the terms of trying to find guides. And we had 11 guides or something we were supposed to fill the chairs with or something. And I had this Middle Eastern scholar come through, and he was wearing the same thing that I was seeing here.
Okay.
And then he showed up, but the rest of it was just flash here, flash. I couldn't stick with anything, which is unusual for me. I usually, the movie unfolds, and I was just constantly fighting. I knew my head was going back and forth. I need more sleep.
You need a 5-hour energy.
I would have been snoring.
5-hour energy drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were supposed to go back not to see a guide, but to, parallel
Well,
self.
that's the only thing I could hold on to was
Yeah.
seeing him do stuff, and I thought, oh, that must be me, and I'm not so sure. But yeah, nothing was really. I had snapshots, but.
I got a name and everything.
Did you really? Good.
Because you didn't ask for that in the tape, which I was surprised. You didn't ask for a name, did you? Just a location.
I don't believe so. I don't remember.
Because that's cool, you got that.
Yeah, why that?
I just asked you to pick, anything you can do to be able to
Yeah.
make contact with yourself.
Her name is Margaret Ann Schultz. We're born the same year. She's a professor of English. She's in Boston, Mass. Cambridge area, divorced. Took her name back, no children, drives a Mercedes.
Woo!
But now that one will be easy to check. Probably you can go out on the web and
Google it. Just
Google
Google
it.
the name.
Yeah.
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 It was confusing because when I came out the tunnel, it was darkness, and I didn't know what that meant, and I kept struggling. And I asked myself before you did on the tape, indoors, outdoors, and I really didn't get a sense of anything. And then when you asked, it was outdoors, and then I thought, well, am I feeling darkness of night in a park? And I sort of felt like there was a park bench. I was like, oh, is that person homeless? But it didn't come out to be that way. So I don't really have any understanding, but my part, so anyways, this person was a female as a chef in England. And where I'm confused is that I got the year 1910. So how does that work as a parallel life when it's some, or it
When
doesn't?
you obviously weren't born yet, so
So that's not right. So
that wouldn't be, Yeah, I don't know how that would work.
Well,
So-
it's still,
They could still be on the same lineage, but,
Couldn't they still overlap? Like
Hmm?
maybe that person was born in 19.
well, that's right though. They
still be alive.
were born, they were born in 1910. You were born when?
59.
Yeah, 59, so they'd only been 49 then. Yeah,
So
they'd only been 49
so
when you were young.
is this possible or it's not possible?
It's possible.
So I am a split off, well,
Hmm?
yeah, this parallel life is confusing, I'm trying to
Because you'd
understand.
only 69 when you were 20.
Okay, so what does that mean? I am a parallel life of them?
Yeah, but this works both ways.
Okay.
So,
Is it like a family tree?
and it overlaps. I can remember we had once when the people in the seminar were describing, and this guy said, every time he tried to move me, nothing happened. I just saw these fuzzy white verticals. And then somebody came and picked me up out of my crib. And so he was a little baby. So as a parallel, he is a baby somewhere else in the world. So you see, it could be ever overlapping.
Okay, so my
It's,
parallel life.
I know it's a concept that people really get stuck on, and I don't bring it up, but you are going to have people say, hey, this doesn't work. You know, I heard that there are more people living today than the sum total who have ever lived, which is far, far from true, but you will find an endless number of people who have got past lives, and so, you know, theoretically, basically, it is very weak at that point. And so you do need an answer for them. And if you understand this one thoroughly, now if you go out to my website and you go to articles, there's a couple good articles. One is by me, but then the other is by somebody else, I forget his name. But he looks at the numbers as well. And so by having this basic understanding, nobody's going to catch you in that spot.
Yeah, because it said, I think when we started communicating, it was obviously in spirit, but once we were young together, if that makes any sense, but.
Well, maybe you know, you've come back in this capacity many times. The two of you. Maybe you were drawn back. I think of it as a cell in your leg, and it just divides. And it divides, and it divides. And each time each cell is dividing, then, you know, the cell that created that cell, that's the oversoul, it's creating all these extensions of potential, then each of them will divide in creating several more cells. And I don't know, it seems to me like maybe it works like this, but I've written about 7 other ways that it may work as well.
So the parallel life can be behind you, it's simultaneous.
I do really believe in parallel lives, because this lifetime I had as Ed Morrell, I've just been able to answer anything that the reporters tossed at me, or I went out to the location. Yeah, it's in soul agreements.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah, same thing. And boy, I've investigated that life till I don't want to investigate it anymore. But all over Fresno, that whole area, all the archives and the newspapers, everything I could find out about this guy named Ed Morrell. And I was about 11 years of age when he died. And he was in Hollywood, California, and I was in the Midwest. But boy, I've got his memories, I'll tell you. And I've been, you know, the hypnotist is a hypnotist this New York Times reporter hired. And he's good. He's the only guy in this country, I think, that's got a master's degree in regressive hypnosis. So I don't doubt a bit that's what's real. But Ruth Montgomery said, well, no, Richard, that is, you're a walk-in. And I said, no, Ruth, it's parallel. And she said, no, Richard, you're a walk-in. And so until Ruth died, we would joke back and forth about that. But I don't think I ever convinced her, and she never convinced me. But I told her that when I told her the story. We were having lunch in Mountain Shadows Resort in Scottsdale. Camelback Inn in Scottsdale, excuse me.
What's a walk-in? Exactly.
And why did she think you were a walk-in?
Because she was doing a lot of research at the time on walk-ins, and then they told her. She's got a whole group, Arthur Ford and a lot of other people that communicate through her. And they wrote a bunch of her books. If you haven't read Ruth Montgomery's books, you should read them. They're fabulous books.
So her spirits told her that you were a walk-in?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the guides that come through her hands. And they wrote a couple of her books. She gets up in the morning, she said a prayer. She's dead now. But she would say a prayer, and then she'd put her hands on an electric typewriter, and she'd only work for a few minutes. But she wrote several great books this way.
But it could be that part of this guy's, I don't remember the name, Ed something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, anyway, yeah.
Ed Morrell is the guy.
Ed Morrell. The part of his soul is all part of you. And also you,
Yeah.
as
Mm-hmm.
separately. Any combination is
That's what I'm saying. He is, I see us as a parallel.
Yes, he can be both parallels and walking.
Well, maybe.
Part of it.
I suppose. A walk-in, Kathleen, is a soul. I'll do a session on it, so you've got, you really have that experience as well. But because half of the people that come to see you will be what I call wanderers. Scott Malaker's studies, half of them will be, almost exactly half of them will be wanderers. And there'll be a few walk-ins. But walk-ins are souls who have done a soul transfer. In other words, well, let me back up. If you ever known anyone who they were just a screw up in life, I mean, they were just a complete fuck up, really. And then all of a sudden, they got their life together. They really became responsible people. They probably got divorced about the time they got their life together. And that very well may have been a walk-in, because here's somebody who's just not doing it. I mean, they're a screw up. And they are offered at night, when they're out of body and dreaming, would you like to step out of this life? No pain, your karma will remain intact. So there's no price for doing so. And let somebody else walk in who wants to use your body. And I'm really convinced this is true too. And I could tell you all day, the rest of this day, why I believe that. But so a deal is struck. They get to walk out. There's been no karma created. And the person who steps into their body has a fierce determination to do something that's probably very much, is good for the planet. It's going to serve mankind. So he's coming in with a real fervor to do what he needs to do. But the memories of his old life are erased. And so he just has a drive to get that screw-up's life all together again. And so what he'll do is he'll start cleaning up the life. All of a sudden there's a new energy, a new determination, new intent. And he'll get that guy's life together. And all of a sudden the screw-up is not a screw-up anymore. But he has no ties to the wife, the family, the friends, whatever. And so usually there's a severing of the ties when he is making his move. And then he'll do whatever it is that he came here to do. And if it's true or not, most of the metaphysical audience believes it's true. So it's really important that you guys know some of these things. See, because if they asked you about a walk-in and you could not tell them, they're going to go, she doesn't know anything. And that's ridiculous. You do know tons of stuff, but people are going to judge from these little things like that, where you just don't want to get caught in a trap like that. So, yeah.
Okay, well, I had a friend who was a walk-in, and it's not always all that black and white as you described it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he messed up with his life. He was in constant depression. He never cleaned up his house. It was like garbage up until here in his condo. At some point, it was full of cockroaches.
Oh.
He couldn't have a relationship, nothing. At some point, he was addicted to sex, but he wasn't happy with that either. And somebody tried to kill him, and that he tried to get better, but then he let himself go, and he gained like 150 pounds, so it was all hopeless.
Oh.
And he intended to commit suicide, but then thanks to me he didn't. And after that, he did the walk-in deal.
Yeah.
And he knew.
That's exactly the sort of person that they do it with.
Well, when I saw the new him, it was the last time we saw each other because we had a fight. But there was still a portion of the old soul with the new soul, so that he would retain all the memories and the talents and the ties to the people around him. So it wasn't a total switch.
The memory banks are intact. That is a walk-in. They have to say, I'm willing to take on his memory banks, but I'm not going to live with them long because, you're going to get the life together, and so then you're going to create a whole new life.
Well, in 1 month, he lost all the 150 extra pounds. He became...
In 1 month?
In 1 month, yeah. He didn't eat anything. He became really good looking. He started doing gymnastics, and he started working with passion and everything.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a permanent deal. After 2 years, the old soul came back, and the new soul went away. Because it wasn't a mission for the new soul. The purpose was for the old soul to get his act together. So the old soul switched back, and after a year, he committed suicide.
Oh.
But he got a spirit's permission. So it was because I talked to him. I talked to the spirit afterwards, and he said that he just had to start anew. That his childhood was so messed up that the memories could not be cleaned up. I mean, he could work now. He wasn't depressed anymore.
Right.
And he kept his weight, but he just didn't see any sense in living. There was just no, he didn't feel like worth.
And so they just let him off the hook?
Yes.
Yeah. I've never heard of a deal quite like that. That's really interesting, but I don't doubt it. Yeah, I'm open to anything. There's so much weird stuff. And every time I think I've seen it all, then there's something else.
So being the walk-in, that's good for the planet.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad thing, and obviously
Oh,
there's...
no.
Okay.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Yeah, Ruth's got a couple of books, and most of his case histories, and I'm one of the case histories in the second walk-in book.
What was the author's name?
Oh, Ruth Montgomery. Ruth Montgomery has influenced more of probably the older audience now, those who are, 40, 45 on up, than just about anybody.
Yeah, I read her 2 books way back in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, she was good, and she was a good friend.
So there's a new soul coming in, is what you said. When the walk-in happens, it's a new soul.
No, it's not a new soul, it's an old soul that is determined. Like,
Different.
an example was Jonathan Winters, the teas. He's got healing teas, and evidently he just really wanted to get back and be able to share his knowledge of healing tea. And so he got a line of healing teas out. I mean, that was what he drove him back, because he felt there was so much value that tea could heal you. And of course, I don't know that brand because it isn't sold where I live, but like the yogi teas that are for healing, and my God, Tara's got a whole cabinet of for healing everything. But it was that idea. He wanted to share that. And so that's one of Ruth's cases. And one of my teachers is a case too, David Paladin. And why David was so determined to get back and share all of his knowledge. And it sure influenced me, and I in turn have shared it with, well, 1 million people read You're Born Again, 1 million people bought You Were Born Again to Be Together. So right there was a lot of people where I shared David's knowledge. And it's touched. Carolyn Miss talks a great deal about David, and so she's passed it on to probably way more people than I ever did.
What's a transcendent soul? Is there another name for a soul that, or do you have a name for a soul that in theory doesn't have karma and decides to come back anyway?
Well, that would be a bodhisattva, and that's the next session I want to do with you. Because you really need an understanding of that as well. Bodhisattva is a Sanskrit term for one who doesn't have to come back, but he wants to help everyone else to attain enlightenment. And he knows, or she knows, that no one will really be free until everyone is free. And thus they will come back and try to help.
So when somebody has an astrological chart and they say, you know, that old soul, new soul thing, how does that all fit into everything we're just talking about here? Like if you have, somebody says to you, oh, you're an old soul because your Saturn is such and such. And
No, I don't buy that. I don't buy it. I mean, you know, maybe somebody's a fairly, you know, they've had so many Earth incarnations. Well, if they had a strong determination to do great with the lifetimes that they had, they may be way beyond somebody that's had 10 times the lifetimes. Remember, we are born with a vibrational rate that we earned in the past. And in theory, let's say the bottom is 0 and the top is 1,000. It's not this simple, but I mean, you know, it goes from 0 to 1,000. Whatever rate you have earned in the past life, all the sum total of all your past lives, maybe you came in at a 485. You know, that was where you were. I'm just being, you know, using simple terms here, but so you came in with a 485. Now, how you live your life is going to dictate whether you are going to raise or lower your vibration. As I probably described before, Mother Teresa probably raised hers a great deal. And Hitler probably lowered his a great deal. And so maybe, you know, you live a really good lifetime helping. So maybe you're going to go from 485 to 490. You've increased it 5 points. And that would be a really good thing. And that would be soul growth. You are showing a lot of growth. And so the idea, if that's what you'd be more concerned with, that you're an old soul. I know astrologers are always saying that. I just don't buy it. I don't know. But sure, you know, somebody could have a lot more lifetimes. It's break time? Okay.
Past break time.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Well, I came out of the tunnel and I thought I was in Africa.
Yeah.
And then I thought I was in like Native American, but I was actually in like Australia, Aboriginal kind of. And he touched my forehead and my headache's gone. I've had it since Sunday.
Are you
He like painted on me since Sunday. This was through towards the end.
Whoa.
When I was like interacting, he was clicking and I don't know, all this strange.
Once we have come back from after break, we got to focus on that a lot more. Okay.